Hey, joining us now, the head coach of the NEO Golden Norsemen in Miami, Oklahoma, Zach Allen, and congratulations go to the Norsemen and their program because over the last 2 years they've had three players picked in the NFL draft. Now, obviously, they don't go directly from NEO to the NFL. They've got to stop in between. And for Alton Robinson, that was Syracuse, where he's pretty good. He's a pretty good defensive end edge pass rusher in the ACC. Um, got to hand it to you, son. Nice job, and I know you got to be really happy for Alton. I had a chance to talk to him a couple of times when he played for you guys, and I know he had some issues coming out of Converse Judson, but this was a good kid that I think just got caught in a bad situation.
Yeah, and don't want to go into too much detail. That's all in a far past. Um, when you talk, he's 6-7 years away from any of those situations, and he's definitely made the most with everything he's been given. A guy that never complained about the hand that he was dealt, and understood that accountability is a good thing, and just continued to work and continued to gain trust of his coaches and his teammates, and really came on the map. The glaring image I have of Alton post NEO. I mean, he had 14 sacks when he was here in one season, which is pretty crazy in of itself. But the year after, when Clemson was on their come up and they go into the Dome on a Friday night, and I think Alton had 2.5 sacks that night and pulled probably the upset of the year that season against Clemson, and that kind of really put them on the map. And they've even referenced that game a couple of times over the coverage for Alton. And it's just he's an emotional player with high motor, and he's going to have to get bigger and get stronger to go up against the competition that he's now going to be faced with, and the physicality that the play in the run game brings at that level, and not just be a pass rusher in order to play three downs, but I never put anything past him.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is that I have trouble pronouncing the first names of your players, but I call him Alton. It's Alton, and
Alton,
then
yeah.
yeah, and then I still my audience can tell you I still struggle with it's Darian
Darwin,
Darwin.
yeah,
Okay, see,
yeah,
I still struggle with that. Now, speaking of
yeah,
Darwin, because
yeah,
this is I mean, you guys are up there in Miami, Oklahoma, in Kansas
yeah.
City Chiefs territory, and that's been great because Darwin comes down and I mean he of course Utah State's quite a ways away, but I mean he
Sure.
acts like NEO is his college home more than the 4 year school he was at, and he was only there 1 year, and that was at Utah State. But he's such a big booster of NEO and talks so highly of NEO. What were your thoughts when you saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire picked by the Chiefs in the last pick of the first round, and how that might impact Darwin?
Oh, there were a lot of comparisons out there to Darwin and Hilaire, and they're different backs. I don't want to speculate where Kansas City front office's vision for the future in that running back room is, but there is Darwin is on contract for the next couple of years. He did sign a 3-year deal, so he's protected in that regard. It's just another a challenging factor in front of Darwin. That he's been able to leap over and run through his entire career going back to junior high school. So if you think that made Darwin bat an eye, you don't know Darwin very well.
Let's backtrack and go back to Alton because over the years, I know Dave Hunziker and myself have got, we've received calls from NFL people, whether it's a scout pulling me aside during, uh, practices or whether it's actually getting a phone call from. Usually, it's somebody in the player personnel office. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's a media relations guy in the NFL, and they ask you about an OSU player, and I never get asked X's and O's, which I shouldn't. I get asked, is he a good interview? How is he? How does he act around the media? Is he respectful? Do you think Oklahoma State has been able to trust him? And I know they call Kevin Clintworths and Gavin Langs and Sean McGuire's too, but usually this is the first year I haven't gotten a call at all in a long time. You get you get the calls like you did on Alton. They're talking X's and O's. And I'm sure they're talking off the field and all that, but to give the fans an insight, when you get a call from a Seattle or a Kansas City or somebody, what are they calling you about? What are they asking?
Um, it really doesn't go very position specific. Most of the conversations I've had over the last 3 years since I've been at this post is, now it's been over 5 or 6 different kids. I call them kids still, 20, 23, 24 years old.
Yeah.
They're very much on the middle side of the game. How many reps does it take for him to, pick up this type of concept? What's the most, complicated or thought-provoking concept that you asked him to do? In a meeting room, what are his habits? What does his love for the game? Those type of things. All those things that become go from intangible at the college level, just because it's not. There are some guys so talented that they can get back. They can get away with strictly being strong, fast, talented, whatnot. To the NFL, where it's those things have to be tangible because everybody is the biggest, fastest, strongest dude on their college squad, and you have to bring all those factors together even to amount to anything. And so, they ask about his meeting habits, any issue with him on the practice field as far as effort goes, and just kind of picking the brains of those type of things, because I'm not sure they're they're real interested in how how NEO develops their zone blitz schemes. They're more interested in how quickly did Alton or Darwin or Jace or Mike Quan or those guys that in the last couple of years, how quickly they pick up on things.
I got you. All right. You're to a degree you're going through the same things that the Mike Gundys and all the head football coaches out there are going through. Um, your campus is online classes only right now. I think you got a few kids on campus because they actually needed a place to stay. But kind of explain to the folks out there, and you're governed by the same board of regents that Oklahoma State University is. Uh, the hardships and what you're trying to do, and I'm sure your tech abilities have been increased, like almost every coach, because of this. But what's going on with NEO football?
Uh, yeah, a lot of Zoom position meetings. Honestly, we've tried to find the silver lining in all of this, like a lot of coaches have, and I think it'll really show once we get back to whatever normal is here in the next whatever. How creative different staffs have become. I feel like we've been able to, on the middle side of things, bring this signing class, this freshman class, which for us is huge because it's half the team at our level, along a little bit further to where we wouldn't even been worried about installing inside and outside zone with the freshmen until July. Well, we've already gotten through that twice, with this group now that they have time on their hands, and we have time on our hands as well. We're able to evaluate the next class. Junior college recruiting as far as incoming is a little bit later. You kind of let the the wheat from the chaff kind of separate, and the guys that are going to sign at a higher level, go ahead and do that, so we're not wasting time. But we've been able to get on the 2021 evaluations a lot quicker than we normally have. But it's a wait and see game. Here we've missed some fundraising opportunities that are big at our level. I know they talk, money is a driving factor in a lot of decisions, and are a back burner factor in a lot of these decisions when it comes to this particular, point in time. But definitely in a lot of people's minds. So, just trying to be as efficient as we can to understand that everyone wants to get back, but we've got to do it smart. And we're also, like Oklahoma State, they're probably used to being able to make, their own decisions. We kind of rely on them. Well, now they're relying on people above them. So it's definitely foreign to a lot of people, and we're just trying to do the best we can with it and be safe and try to grow as a program as in maybe some more unique ways than we would have in the past.
Yeah, I know Oklahoma announced on Friday they intend to have on campus classes in the fall. Oklahoma State kind of came back after them and said the same thing, but with a more of a guarded, we're going to keep our eye on what's going on. Obviously, those are your regions, but what are you hearing about when NEO and again, Miami is up there in Ottawa County? You guys have had very, very low numbers and a lot of success with battling the COVID-19 pandemic and the coronavirus. But what's the feeling you get on when you're going to maybe be able to see the bulk of your guys back on campus again?
Yeah, we are, Ottawa County, we are blessed with natural social distancing, for sure, up here for the most part. But, we've gone, I think our administration's been a little bit slower to react, or not necessarily slower, but maybe a shorter timetable, shorter time landscape than maybe the bigger state schools, to where the furthest that we've gotten on any type of regulation is June classes have been put fully online, with the hopes of July maybe being the optimistic start date to bring everybody back to campus, or at least in a maybe a fractured way. So we don't usually get our football team back until July anyway. So hopefully there's optimism for a little bit of normalcy when it comes to that date. But at this point, it's a lot of reactionary to Oklahoma State, because they've got few more resources, and they're obviously our governing body to begin with.
Something else that I was going to ask you, because it's come up. I don't know if you saw Micah Cooper's Twitter message the other day. But I know he came in and really made an impression at Oklahoma State with his work ethic. Ended up playing last season in the opening game against Oregon State. Scored a touchdown against McNeese State in the second game of the season. Pretty much played some all season, some at running back, and started making a big impression. I think this year he's supposed to be probably playing on darn near every special team. But you actually had him when you had two backs, one that's in the NFL and one that's starting at UNLV right now. So he was behind some good guys, some all-conference, even All-American type backs at NEO. But talk a little bit about Micah Cooper, because he seems to be a special kid.
Yeah, I'm really happy that it worked out for him. I'm sure he would have loved to have been in a starting role with us, and like you said, he was behind some pretty quality talent. But with Micah, you never heard a word about it. You never had a shut door Tuesday meeting where Mike Carey's coach meeting. Which are natural, and I don't shy away from those, because I want everybody to understand where they stand. But with him, it was, go to work every day, and he had faith in his own ability, he had trust in the program, he had faith that everything happens for a reason, and it really looks like he's turning his career into something that could potentially be a pretty good story down the line. So we're proud of him. He's got a lot of fans here. He did do some great things. He didn't. I don't want it to make it sound like he just rode the bench here, because he absolutely did not. He was a huge part in a couple of really quality seasons here. But he's going to continue to work, and I know that Coach Gundy and those guys, they do a great job evaluating within their own locker room to make sure that they've got the best people in the best positions. And, Mike is going to find his way on the field.
Well, and again, what does it look like for the Norsemen coming back? You didn't get your spring in, which is probably, that's probably universal across the. I can't think anybody in the junior college ranks even got their spring practices started. What's it look like?
Well, we had a good off season. We had our off season, a little bit longer just because we start spring ball a little bit later. So, we put the guys through the ringer and came out, healthy and in really good shape on the other side. We've got some returning core players that I feel like bring some leadership capability that may have seen here in a couple of years. It starts with the only true freshman on the all-conference list. Last year with Trey Kaiser from Sulphur, just an absolute animal, and he's going to be a great player. He's already been a great player here and wherever he lands in the future. Another guy getting attention, lately, from Oklahoma's Lincoln Sefcik from Enid has picked up a bunch of offers over the last couple of weeks, and he's a tight end for us, about 6'3", 6'4", a typical NEO story. Had good enough grades to go anywhere, just didn't have any opportunity. Weighed about, I think he wrestled at 185, and now is weighing at a solid 240. So he's turned himself into a really good player. Trey Thompson, another linebacker, and we've gotten some from Union. He comes back with a lot of experience, and we're always you're always looking to bring in guys that are looking for a fresh start. And the name Ron Tatum has always been around the state of Oklahoma in recruiting, and he's got another year here, and he's getting his academics where they need to be, and playing hard and doing well for us. Kobe Tillman, who was Bigsby, won 4 state championships there, and then was a fullback when Oklahoma used a fullback. With some goal line sets and some short yardage stuff. He wanted to make the switch to linebacker, and NEO is a place that's an opportunity to use in that situation. So he's up here doing some good stuff. So a little bit of new, a little bit of old. I'm sure I left some people out that shouldn't be, but DJ Wagner, still the all-time leading receiver in Jinx football. He's here, got another year for us, got some offers on the table. So we're excited about a really solid core and some transfers, and then we're really excited about the freshman class we signed. So it's unfortunate we couldn't see it mesh a little bit in the spring, but we'll be full steam ahead whenever they tell us we can.
Yeah, and you guys lost a corner late to Texas Tech, didn't you?
Yeah, Cameron Watts from Tulsa Union. He's a part of that really incredible, and that's not understating it, incredible defensive backfield at Union, 3 or 4 years ago, or I guess 2 years ago, that were, I think 2 of them, landed at the University of Oklahoma, one landed at the University of Tulsa, and one's out at Utah. So, when you talk about he's the 5th guy in that secondary, sometimes you may have just as much talent as, a couple of the guys ahead of you. It's just, it's hard to believe that one high school would have that type of secondary, and just kind of got, mixed, lost in the shuffle, and came here, had an all-conference season as a true freshman, covered some of the better receivers in the country. We run a lot of man coverage and matched him up on anywhere their best receiver wanted to go, and really showed his range. Even though he's not the longest kid in the world, he's 5'10", but he really showed great range and great speed. And the guys over at Texas Tech noticed and saw his transcript and said, "Hey, it's an opportunity we can take advantage of right now," and that's what we're all about.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it, and obviously, best of everything to you guys over there. And I know Zach Crisip, you got to be happy with him as your strength coach, because I know that's one thing that's helping OSU, and I'm sure he's pretty maniacal about trying to make sure guys have everything they possibly can, and making use of whatever they got to keep doing that.
Well, there's no doubt. I know a lot of just every school, I'm sure, has some version of some sort of virtual in-home workout system. But honestly, our theory goes to back to recruiting the right players. And if you're recruiting the right players, they're going to do everything they can to come in ready and understand what that means. No matter how many virtual Zoom videos you show them, and different 1,000 ways to do push-ups, and how many video posts you want to do of squatting logs and tires. But all that's well and good. But call me old school or old fashioned or whatever. But if you sign the right kids and you've built the right culture, they're going to come in. They're going to find a way to be ready. Because it's just one of those things that everybody's going to throw out virtual workouts. It's the ones that truly take everything to heart and understand the challenge that's in front of them and can stay focused. Those are the guys that are going to show up, and whether it's September, October, November, whatever it may be, it'll show up on the scoreboard too.
All right. Hey, Zach, I appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon. Probably not on the air, but we'll talk to you soon off air.
Very good. Later.
All right. Zach Allen, head coach at NEO Junior College, kind of